9 a.m., so you know what that means. It is time now for our guy, Nick Underhill, neworleans.football. Nick, what is up, sir?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Basically just like leading into LSU baseball, so that never gets to happen here for the morning show. So we talked a lot of baseball in hour number 1, told some old war stories in hour number 2, and now excited to talk some New Orleans Saints with you because we just had a camp. And so I know that, you got a lot of observations with the Saints. And so before we get into the nitty-gritty, maybe some of your biggest takeaways from said camp.
I don't think they're going to have the worst quarterback in the league. So
let's go.
Let's go. All right.
Go
All
Saints.
right. There we go,
Let's
boys.
Go, Saints.
Let's go, baby. All right. Like it.
That's it. Interview over.
That's it. Drop it. Drop the mic.
I don't know what that means. I don't know where it goes from here. But, there feels like there's a baseline level of confidence here that it's going to be, above, maybe the Will Levis line. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a starting point. I like how Shough's improving. It seems like he does get better, every practice. Every time we go out there, it seems like there's some improvement. And the fact that they're kind of running neck and neck right now, I like that because it makes me believe that maybe by the end of preseason game week 1 that, Shough maybe starts to create a little bit of separation if he's improving the way he is. But look, Rattler's a young guy too, and he's actually younger. I mean, he can go away and get better too. So we'll see how it goes from here. But I kind of like where they're at. I think last week when I was on here, we were talking about the secondary, and I mentioned that there weren't many plays being made. Those guys made some plays out there in minicamp. That was good to see.
Yeah.
Made me feel a little bit better about that. I thought Justin Reed was maybe the most, splashiest player over the 2 days. Just kind of the way he moves, sees things, crashes down in the flats. This vision-based defense, I think is going to be really good for him and the way he plays. So I think that's something that stood out. And then Kool-Aid made a couple plays in the red zone period, which was something that's really good to see. I mean, I think he's highly important to just the overall health of the franchise now and into the future. So a couple decent little, optimistic things to hang on to heading into the offseason.
Nick, how's the when I look at offense, it's like trying to judge. We would always judge how an offense is doing in an OTA minicamp, early training camp, by kind of the rhythm, quarterbacks throwing on time, but really a completion percentage. You can't really judge it based off big plays a lot. Touchdowns thrown during practice because you're not tracking yards. A lot of times in these training, the defense is learning too, so there's a lot of defensive mistakes as well that you can take advantage of. Then the offensive play will look better than it might have actually supposed to have been. So I look at timing, completion percentage. Is that something that you tracked or noticed that was all right, these guys are getting the ball in and out of their hands, are going through their reads quickly, getting to check downs, and also are you tracking kind of an overall completion? Maybe not exact percentage, but kind of in your head, this guy's, got 4 or 5 in a row and he's doing, it's looking smooth.
Oh no, we got exact everything. We got throw charts on our website. You can go look at the quadrants.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Rattler throws that, I think, with a little bit more rhythm. I think that's kind of the big thing. And I think it kind of shows up just over the middle of the field too, in that just in rhythm up the seams, attacking the middle, seeing things quickly. I mean, Rattler's kind of dressing up that middle area of the field, and Shough kind of more, he likes to roll out a little bit. And there's not as much over the middle, and I kind of feel like that was where I felt like Rattler had the big advantage. And that was kind of where I saw improvement with Shough, though, over time. In the OTAs, it felt like, and when he was rolling out, it felt like it was almost always to the left. And it just felt like there was a lot of that. And then in minicamp, there's a little bit more quicker stuff happening over the middle, but Rattler, 45 for 59 over the 5 practices that we saw, 1 pick. Shough, 44 for 59, 1 pick over those same practices. So, I mean, this thing is basically the same. Now, Shough has a little bit more down the field, the 0 to 10, left and right. He's really dressing that up. But, yeah, I thought Spencer was better over the middle. Shough didn't complete a single pass between 10 to 20 yards over the middle. Rattler had 3, kind of attacking them seams a little bit. So, just kind of the way they're going at it is a little bit different. And that's kind of seeing, when he's seeing it fast and getting it out, that's where I think he's really, really good. Interestingly, one other thing is just the big takeaways. Second highest targeted guy, second highest completions, Jawan Johnson on both of those, right behind Rashid Shaheed, 9 catches on 11 targets. I think that's a little bit of a reason for optimism too. I mean, I'm kind of beyond the on-top potential thing with him, but I do think that him and Derek Carr didn't necessarily coalesce the way you would want to see them. And I think, after Carr got hurt last year, Jawan came to life a little bit. Maybe there's that little bit of life, if he can give you 4 catches, 40 yards every single week. I mean, I think that would be a huge benefit to the offense. He was kind of the guy that stood out the most to me. And it was 6 targets from Rattler, 5 from Shough, pretty even split. So, it isn't like he was benefiting from one guy over the other. Just like a really consistent, 5 days of practice out of him. And I think that's the key with him, is just kind of finding that consistency.
Yeah, and Nick, let me tell you, when you're evaluating quarterbacks in a practice situation and trying to, who's looking better, who's looking smoother, it's not always necessarily about completion percentage, although you definitely want it to be high. It can be a red flag if it's not.
Yeah.
But what you've already talked about and discussed about what Spencer's doing and what Shough is getting to is the fastest way to the end zone is over the middle. That is a quarterback's philosophy. That's a play caller's philosophy. That's the fastest way to get a ball into the end zone is over the middle. So when you look, I always think quarterbacks are ahead, at least mentally or from a comfort level within the offense, is how they're attacking the middle of the field, and especially the intermediate length routes. If you have a guy that's consistently seeing it, hitting it, completing it, that's a huge green flag for me when I'm trying to evaluate a quarterback, is how much he's taking advantage of that middle. And it's impossible for a young guy to do that. So Shough getting better at that, that's something to watch for, is how's his completions over the middle going forward. And I guess with that being said, you kind of answered my question about who that number 2 receiver was coming. But I guess I'll kind of flip it around and say, within this new offense with Kellen Moore, a big part of throwing the ball over the middle is it could be a tight end. How are they utilizing a tight end? How's that position looking right now?
It's the biggest thing that stood out to me throughout this, really. It kind of felt empty going into it, and I'm not, declaring anything here. I'm not ready to say they got that position answered or anything like that. But those guys consistently down the chart, it was the biggest surprise of anything. Jack Stoll, he was someone that stood out a lot. They brought him in from Philly, 6 targets, 6 catches, kind of a handpicked guy there. I think more of a blocker than a receiver, but the fact that they kind of targeted him, brought him here, said something that he stands out as a pretty decent little summer here, these practices. Trayton Welch, who I'm guessing nobody who's listening to this has ever heard of him. 4 catches, 4 targets. He looked pretty good throughout it. Mataveo, the rookie they drafted, he got targeted a lot, 5 targets, only 2 catches. But, I mean, they're getting the ball to these guys, and that does look like a position that maybe has a little bit more potential, especially when Foster Moreau's on the sideline. And, again, he was someone that really came to life during the second half of the season last year after all the receivers went down. So, maybe there's a little bit there. Maybe there's a mix. I think it does come back to Jawan. I think there's just so much about this offense that they need his presence. Just when you're playing with a bunch of 6-foot guys, at some point you do need someone to make a contested catch, and maybe it can be him. But, yeah, I mean, they're definitely getting the ball to those guys, and I felt a little bit encouraged seeing just a little bit of production there. And Welch is the one guy that kind of made me, out of, everybody, if I had to pick a dark horse right now, I think maybe he's at least in the mix. He stood out. He looked good. I thought Michael Jacobson was the guy that was going to flash a little bit because that's kind of what he does every summer. But Welch was the guy that kind of caught my eye. And, it happens enough times you're like, damn, who's that guy? And you're looking up the number. And, by the end of it, that name is stuck in your mind. So he definitely made an impression on me.